I want to tell you a love story. It's set in the dreamy hills of California, where a spirited congregation and a life-giving priest seem destined at long last to find each other. This installation is the requited love we long to see. But I'm telling you that telling this love story is kind of hard. It reminds me of when I used to try to tell a story to my child. He would say, "Tell me a story, Mom." And I would say, "No, you tell it, honey. You won't like the way I tell it." He'd say, No, Mama, you tell it." "Okay, once there were 3 little boys." "No, there were 3 girls." "Okay, honey, you tell the story." Mike Himmons said, "Tell the story." And I said, "No, Mike, you tell it. You tell it better." And he goes, No, you tell it. And I said, "Once there was a priest." No, it's not about the priest. It's about the congregation." "Okay, Mike, you tell it." But then there were 2 other phone calls from other priests who wanted to tell me how to tell this story. And I said, "You tell it." No, we want you to tell it. The story goes something like this. Once upon a time, a long time ago, there was a young priest who was a poet and a prophet and who believed in community, and so he went in search of church. The words of Micah came as naturally to him as breath, and so he could do justice and walk humbly and love kindness. He could do it just like he could breathe. And he made a life with Robin and his children, and they grew up into a strong family, and he became a good preacher and a leader of the church. His passion for justice never wavered through seasons of great joy and hard injustices. Once, at the point of near exhaustion, I remember a conversation with him about how he could maybe just organize things differently so he could still bear the load, but do it without being sick. At your core, Mike, you have always been a lover of justice. And you have always followed the love story that Jesus told. The readings tonight provide the context for this love story. It's the story of trying to recognize the face of love and searching for it in new and unfamiliar places. Now, some parts of the love story never change, and we know that as priests, amen? No matter how much money we raise or are given, we spend it all. No matter how much time we are given, we fill it. No matter how much power we are ceded, we all lose it. So no matter what ministry you are given, I pray that this community and you might practice it on things that cannot be spent, filled, or lost. As the 10th rector of this great and famous parish, you need to only spend and fill your time with practicing love first. You're too old to spend any time practicing safety first. This chapter at All Saints Pasadena is a gift to everyone in this space. And like all characters in a good love story, you all need each other. Together, you'll find a way to fall deeper in love with the divine through struggles, through births, through marriages, through deaths, through protests, and finding the gift of where the quiet works and leads us to resistance. Together, you can all tend each other's hearts as you fall deeply in love. You will find each other's vulnerabilities, funny quirks, and strengths. My prayer for this community is that you are able to use them for the sake of the bigger story that we're all part of. The bigger story of love that began with the first word and will continue long after us as the 11th, 12th, and 13th rector are installed. It's the love story that is comedy and lament, as well as hopefully thriller and mystery. Now that you have some decades behind you as a priest, you know that you don't have to pretend to understand the mystery of love. You can admit it like Paul in the readings of Acts, that we grope, that we search, only to discover that God, that love itself was with us all along. Mike, you are free in this chapter, freer than you have ever been, to cast off things that you don't believe and what you are left believing. Fill your time with All Saints with those things. That is what you will live for, and that is what you will die for in this love story. You are free in this chapter to let the waters and the river of justice carry you instead of fighting upstream. Partly because you are in a place that celebrates those waters, but also because as you nourish your interior life, you don't have to fear where those waters will carry you. Floating down the rivers of justice, is that not a dream? And it doesn't just happen because you are more faithful now than you were starting out. It's just now that you know how to lean into love more than fear. You have a deanship behind you. You have stood in protest at Ferguson, the White House, and malls. You have started nonprofits, preached from famous pulpits, started movements within the Episcopal Church, and been a counselor and friend to so many of us out there. This is your season to lean into the groping with freedom, confidence, and humility. Not only are you given a beautiful pulpit, you are given this pulpit at an important time. Use this pulpit to teach faithfully how it's not enough to try and change the world anymore. You have to love it. Amen? Amen. In the long line of preachers since Jesus preached in turbulent times, this is a time and place to focus on the need for radical change in our inner attitudes towards the power of love itself. We need to learn how love heals. When you use this pulpit to help nurture that radical change, All Saints will write new love stories that no external forces can destroy. Because no injustice, no fear, no racism, no sexism can destroy the spirit of love. But without that interior change, we will always be vulnerable to hatred, to cynicism, to reactive retribution and division. No injustice overcomes the love story we were born into. And all of us will die together trying to live out. This chapter of your love story, written in community, written sometimes groping, sometimes from the mountaintop of your pulpit, will always be lived out in the corporal acts of mercy described in Matthew. It's always been that way, and that is why Matthew writes it out plainly for us. Jesus says, I am the compassionate acts of love you offer one another, period. That is who I am. Every time you do the simplest of things, giving drink, food, shelter, even if you do it groping sometimes, even if you do it uninspired sometimes, even if you do it exhausted sometimes, you are writing a word of love. So my advice to you as you write this chapter is to let the living word that speaks new life into you and into this community write the agenda. Don't let a preset agenda or expectation limit where the story carries you. Let it carry all of us somewhere we can't even imagine yet. Let it sweep us up. So as you write the next chapter, rooted in the living word, based in the corporal acts of mercy, here are 7 more ways of loving. Practice the one sacrament of the church with its 7 prisms. healing. Practice healing here. Grieve with abandonment. There is more to grieve as we get older and it becomes deeper and richer. Transform longing into solitude as you contemplate. Commit to the humility of the priesthood and keep taking out the trash and washing dishes. Give heed to your dreams that want to carry you to a new vision. Know the closest prison and visit it, and make sure you sign up as a volunteer next week. And build a shelter like you might build a cathedral. People are listening, Mike, to the beautiful love story you have to tell more than ever. This community in the world will be better for it. I can't wait to read it and watch it unfold. God bless you.